I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTracker.com, and today we're going to install the Attack Performance adjustable rear sets in our 2018 Suzuki GSX-R1000 STG project bike. Okay, Attack Performance. If you've been watching Moto America this year, I know you've seen the name Attack Performance. Certainly, Mr. Josh Herron has represented them quite well on that Yamaha R1 out there. He's been really entertaining this season, so much so that my son Max Van is now campaigning for president of the Josh Herron fan club. Rear set install on our GSX-R1000R. This is the third bike we've put these rear sets on now. The 15 to 18 R1, we did that. I rode that bike quite a bit with those on there and I really liked them. We now have them on the 15 to 18 R3. This will be the first go round with those on there. The install on there went well. And now we have the 17 to 18 and up Suzuki GSX-R1000 or GSX-R1000R. This kit is a true high-end racing component. It is built with racing in mind, track days in mind. It's not really built with street compatibility in mind. Can you use these on the street? Absolutely. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. But just understand they don't have things built in here like the ability to reuse your OE brake light switch. Okay, they don't really have concern for that. They are focused on racing. So it's going to be feedback, feel, ease of repair. For example, when I say ease of repair, you have a tip over on the racetrack and let's say you need to get back out there right away. This foot peg comes out of here by loosening just this one fastener. So if you have a broken foot peg, boom, that bad boy is out of there, lightning fast. If you have spares in your toolbox, I mean, you're literally, that repair is made in absolute seconds. Tons of adjustability and durability also built into this. See that folding toe piece here on the brake side? Very tight tolerance with the pedal and the levers. You see that lateral movement in the bearing, there's like none. Any movement you see here, that's in the brake clevis there, that's different. Those things are always pretty darn sloppy. Adjustability. Look at all those holes. There are so many places to choose from. What I recommend doing is whatever rear set you have on the bike, get it up on a rear stand. Let's take some measurements, from the ground up on both sides, get an idea of foot peg height, maybe from the axle to here, and say to yourself, where do I want to put this? How far up and back or forward? What do I want to do? And then build it out from there. So when you first do the install, you can get this thing. Its first spot is going to be close to where you think you want it, and then you can dial it in, of course, after you begin riding. Very important that when you do this, double check all the torque on your fasteners. After the first session or the first ride, take a look at it. Don't be afraid to touch the fasteners with an Allen wrench and make sure everything's good to go. That's really important up front. Let's face it, we make mistakes, things happen. You don't want to have an issue out on the racetrack or the street by leaving a fastener loose. With this kit, the brake fluid reservoir for the rear master cylinder, which used to be right here. Installing this kit, they send a longer hose to go from the reservoir to the master cylinder because the rear set position that I chose wouldn't allow for the stock hose to make it that far. When I went through and did the install, I decided to just can the whole black hose thing. This little Superbike Reservoir, it just looks a lot cooler. We sell them on the site. It's just kind of a cleaner, cool looking thing. Could eliminate this little bracket in the reservoir over here. Just looks cooler. If you're into that, feel free to look for that on our site. If not, you can just use that hose they send along with it. So that's what it takes to do the brake side. Okay, quick rundown over here on the shift side. Always easier to install the shift side rear sets for sure. Footrest. Tons of adjustability here. This is all conflict free. There's nothing over here, but once again, your foot peg position is almost always going to be dictated by your brake side. If you're going to have any conflicts, they'll be on the brake side almost every time, and that's going to basically tell you where you need to begin over here. So easy install here. The shifter itself, once again, one of my favorite things is, look, that's how rigid that. There's no play in that bearing at all, and it is super, super smooth. Adjustable length here. Folding tip, 3 positions to choose from where you're mounting the anchor for the heim joint. That's important. Depending on if you go with standard or GP shift, it's nice to have that ability to move that around here because you don't want this sensor rubbing on the frame. Real important, that rubs, it obviously is not going to create smooth shifting, not at all. So for GP shift, I found for me the forwardmost hole worked the best. If you like what you see so far, you've decided you want to get a set for your GSX-R1000, we show you every step of the install right after this. Okay, before we jump in, the set for the GSX-R1000 should come with an exploded view like this. It breaks down each of the individual part numbers that goes into the assembly. You'll see here in the far right-hand column, you'll have some torque values, and then they'll break down whether they want Loctite or perhaps a little bit of grease on the fasteners for the install. Okay, so if you want to use all that, especially the torque values, this is here for you to do that. Rear sets are off the bike. This kit comes with a new brake reservoir line. Reason being, depending on the location you choose for the foot pegs, this may be too short, okay? Comparing this to the rear sets I'd already ridden with, landed on a foot position that I like. So I took some measurements and put these in basically the same position, okay? These fasteners, once we get this on the bike, we're gonna pull these back out. They ask for grease on those. We're gonna use Loctite on these two fasteners. I like a little bit of Loctite here at the Brake Master mounting, but this is the foot peg position that we're gonna start with. I suggest, even if you're replacing your OE rear sets, you get the bike up on a stand, you take a couple of measurements, maybe from here to the top of the foot peg, and just that way you have a general idea of where you wanna begin, because there is so much adjustment here, it's really hard to determine where you want it to be. And once you get the bracket up on the bike, you're able to then move this around and compare this measurement to the stock rear sets that you had on the bike and get it in that beginning position you want to start off with. Okay, so let's get the party started. We're going to begin here. You get just a little bit of grease. We're going to attach the clevis for the end of the brake master cylinder to our brake pedal. Just a little bit of lubrication there. I like a little bit on the edges itself. Just a thin film. You really don't need a ton there. Okay, so normally you would just reuse your cotter pin. We put a lot of rear sets on this bike already. That cotter pin is no longer with us, and I've been promising forever to go buy a gross these at the hardware store, and I've not done that. Okay, so here I am once again caught in procrastination mode. But I'm gonna replace that with just a little piece of safety wire. Done this before, it works fine. Kind of get it twisted up. We'll shape it a little bit so it looks decent. Odds are you're not going to be doing this. Your cotter pin's going to be fine and reusable. Okay, so just showing you a way around it. You know, this could be a temporary thing too. Maybe I'll go to the hardware store. That's not going to happen. We both know that, right, Steve? We'll just take a minute, kind of form it around with the pliers and make it look good. Okay, now we're ready to bolt the main bracket to the frame of the bike. Just going to use just a little bit of blue thread locker here. When you're making adjustments to the foot peg position, you won't be touching these bolts again. The only reason you would be touching the main mounting bolts is if you had some type of a situation where you had to repair the rear set, maybe remove it, like a crash. So these can go ahead and receive thread locker. I'm not going to use a torque wrench on these. So what I'm going to do is run them down, just finger tight, evenly, before I apply any real torque. And once I get there, just nice, even, consistent torque. If you prefer to use a torque wrench, follow the values they provide there in the instructions, and you'll be good to go. Okay, now the foot peg mounting bolts. Before I bolt up the master, I'm going to go ahead and slide these out. They do recommend a little bit of grease. I have some multi-purpose grease here that I'm using for that. Really don't need a lot. My expectations are they're recommending that because this is a fastener that over time, when you're dialing in the foot peg position, you're probably going to be removing these, reinstalling them. So grease is not a bad option here. If down the road you decide that you have landed on that perfect spot, you want to leave them, I suppose you could clean the grease off with some solvent. And put some thread locker there. Okay, now the actual foot peg itself. One of the real features of the Attack Rearset is this foot peg replacement. Right? Comes right out and you're able to rotate this thing and position it in the most ergonomically advantageous spot. This is another fastener here that they recommend. A little bit of grease on. So go ahead and just thread that out of there and put a slight coating of grease on it, put it back in. You want to make sure the surface where the peg is actually grabbed here in the clamp, that is free of any type of lubricant. That'll reduce the effectiveness of the clamping force, okay? So you don't want that. We'll run this back in here. And once we get this run down, we'll go ahead and torque this one. I'll show you the foot peg position. I like to kind of roll it forward a little bit. You know, naturally, you know, your weight is kind of forward when you're riding the bike. So I like to kind of roll them just a little bit, angle like that. We'll double check the torque here on the brake pedal. Okay, that is tight. Now we're ready to bolt up the master cylinder. Okay, so just taking a quick look at it, you can see I've got my brake reservoir loosened up and relocated here. Clearly, this hose is not going to work now, okay? That's why Attack did supply a longer hose. I'm going to shift gears. I'm not going to use this. I'm actually going to put one of those little Superbike reservoirs on this, okay? Don't really use a rear brake anyways. To facilitate this, I'm going to take and leave the carbon heel guard off for now. Reason I'm doing that is I need to have access to the clamp for the rear reservoir. Kind of just, this is temporary right now. This is just going to be to hold it in place to allow me to manage that reservoir here in the back. I do have Spiegler stainless steel braided brake lines that I've installed on the motorcycle, replacing the rubber OE lines. Just to give us an idea of if there's any conflicts from those. And you know, that's going to be dependent too on the foot peg position you choose. And there's so much range of adjustment here, you know, depending on your exhaust, your brake line setup. Odds are you're not going to be able to use every single one of them, okay? So there's always a little bit of give and take with this kind of stuff, but I feel like the spot that I'm in right now, this is going to be a good position for me overall. Got some slack there in the brake line. That looks pretty good. I feel like we're good to go with that. Clearly this needs to be relocated. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drain the reservoir itself, and then we'll install the Superbike Reservoir kit. Okay, see I've got the reservoir done. Okay, just a little Superbike reservoir. It's all blood up. We've got a little video for that on the site too if you're interested. It's very basic. If you choose to do that, that's an at your own risk kind of thing. You are modifying the brake system of the motorcycle. Here I'm covering my ass now totally. If you do this sensibly, everything is going to turn out just fine. Got to have a little air gap in there. You got to have a reasonable amount of fluid. Life will be fine. And in this case, you know, it looks cooler than just installing a longer black reservoir hose. It looks a lot cooler than that factory reservoir did, so why not? Now we'll go ahead and pull the master mounting bolts out. We'll put a little thread locker on these and get that heel guard on there, and we'll be all done over here on the brake side. Depending on where you put your foot pegs, you may need to modify your reservoir or install an extended hose. And also, like I'd mentioned too, there's such a wide range of adjustment available that you may not be able to use every single position with your particular setup. You know, we've all done different things to our bikes, different brands of exhaust, so on and so forth. And those things can limit or have an impact on which positions you're able to use on the rear set. So it's important you're aware of that up front. Even though this is a direct fit part, you know, I would say the stuff from Attack, this is more, you know, high-end racing product than it is, you know, really, you know, simple bolt-on, you know, bling-bling street upgrades. A little thread locker. You don't need a ton of torque here. Thread locker will do the rest for you. Nice and even. And then we're good to go. On to the shift side. Okay, now onto the shift side. This side is usually a little easier than the brake. Actually, it's always easier. I'm gonna put a little thread locker on the bolts for the main mounting bracket. I have the rear set, the foot peg brackets, located in the same spot I have them on the brake side. Okay, you want symmetry there, of course. Let's go ahead and get that bracket up against the frame here. We'll get these bolts started. Run them both down, finger tight, before you apply any real torque, nice and even. If you want to use a torque wrench, they do have values that were included in the exploded view that came with the rear set. Nice even final torque here. Heel guard, I want to take those out. I want to make sure there's thread locker on there. Really not a stress point, but I don't want to come in off the track and find that my kick-ass carbon heel guard is gone. Felt like there may have been thread locker on there. I just, you know what, I'd rather know for sure. Only takes a second to do this. Okay, now on to the fasteners for the bracket, footrest bracket. These call for a little bit of grease per the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and take the time to do that. Just a little bit. Okay, we'll make sure these are both seated. And apply some final torque. Nice and even. Foot peg bolt. Same treatment we did on the other side. Don't need a lot, just a little. Kind of eyeball that angle. Looks good right about there. We can adjust this once we get the bike on the ground, you know, dialing the foot controls in. Now we're ready to mount the shifter. The shifter is going to mount using the OEM bracket right there. Okay, so that stays in place. We have a main mounting bolt. And then of course we have adjustable length for the folding tip, as well as a heim joint. Okay, I'm going to open up by removing the fastener for the heim joint. We'll reinstall that with thread locker, and there are 3 positions to choose from too. Back the jam nut off. I'm going to look at the amount of available threads we have here. Try and mimic that. All right, that looks pretty darn close. I'm just going to mock it up right now. This isn't going to be a final install because we definitely want thread locker on this main mounting bolt. We've got a washer that goes between it and the bracket that remains on the bike. Not going to put final torque on it, but I'm going to run it down. Once again, man, that is just, the tolerance there is really tight. That feels pretty nice. Okay, now I want to have a look at shifter, and I want to pick the best position. See, these 3 holes here are going to allow you to work that angle. You see the contact here with the frame. So I think what's going to work best on this application is probably going to be the forwardmost one. All right, so let's give that a shot. Once again, this is pretty temporary here. Right, no thread locker on it yet. Okay, I kind of look at my angles here. I want those as close to 90 degrees as they can be. Best mechanical advantage and smoothest shifting is found when you have it dialed in like that. We do have adjustable length here for our shifter. You see, and you're also able to take that, if I want to make the shift pedal longer, I could pull this fastener here and slide it even further up. Just to give you an idea of what that could look like. So lots of options here, lots of adjustability. And you really need to have the boots, the riding shoes. I'm assuming if you're buying Attack, they're boots and you're on a racetrack. You need to have the footwear you're going to ride in on when you dial in these foot controls to make sure that it's apples to apples and you're not, setting them up with your tennis shoes and then you go out there and your seedy boots and all of a sudden everything feels cattywampus. Okay, you want to make sure you dial this in wearing the boots you're going to ride in. Now we're ready to do final assembly. I'm not going to put any thread locker here because I don't know where that's going to land right now. Once I do, I prefer to have thread locker here with that because I want to make sure those aren't going to fall out. But I do want to pull these 2 fasteners here and make sure both of those have thread locker on them. One of the most impressive things with the Attack rear sets that I've experienced is the tolerance in the shift and the brake pedal with this bearing. They're just really tight. There's like zero slop. It is super firm feeling, right? Gives you a ton of feedback, real positive shifting. All right, I will put final torque on this right now. And that's one of the things I really dig about their kits. Man, that is just super sound. Okay, we landed on that forwardmost hole. I like too that this kit gives you that option, to move that around a little bit. So if you're working with GP or standard shift, you can run into some tolerance issues here at the frame. And it's important that sensor's not rubbing on there at all. Clearly any type of contact is going to be restrictive and not result in real positive shifting. Put final torque on that. Need to snug up our jam nut down here. You want to make sure that your heim joints and everything's moving freely. You don't have anything bound up. It's pretty easy to do on this bike because there is rotation in that shift sensor. Okay, but if you have a standard model without that, you want to make sure that you don't have one heim joint turned one way and the other way, creating binding. Okay, so nice and smooth. Make sure these are tight. Like so. Man, that feels really solid. I'm pretty excited to ride with that. Any plate that's in here now is going to be in the sensor or up here in the actual shift shaft itself. That feels really good, really positive. Okay, so in closing, on the shift side, it is either standard or GP shift capable. Folding toe piece, so in the event of a crash, you want to fold back towards the actual foot peg. Tons of adjustment to choose from. You're actually able to rotate the position of the foot peg. Length of the shifter itself is also adjustable, and then you have 3 spots to choose from, 3 mounting points to make sure you have good clearance here between the shift rod and the frame of the bike. So the shift side is relatively straightforward. Let's go over to the brake side now. Like any other kit of rear sets I've installed over the years, the brake side is always the most challenging. With the Attack kit, depending on what exhaust, I've got the M4 full tie system on here right now. You have compatibility. There's so much adjustment here, okay, that you may not be able to use all of it. It could come in conflict with your exhaust. The brake lines, I've got a Spiegler brake line kit on here. It allowed me to go up and back almost all the way. I'm 1 spot off all the way, and that worked out fine. This kit does come with an extra hose, okay, because the brake reservoir here, depending on where you put this footrest, odds are you're going to have to replace the hose to the brake reservoir. You can see I eliminated that, and we just put this little Superbike Reservoir kit on here. It kind of cleans things up. It looks a little bit cooler, right? And it solves the problem with that. But once again, this was relatively straightforward. Like any other racing component, okay, and a lot of the things we install on these bikes that are track focused, they may not always be that super straightforward, every single thing in the world you need is in the package to get the job done. Some of it could depend on what exhaust you have on your bike, right? What other changes you've made to your bike. They could create conflicts. Your brake lines, if you have something different than Spiegler, they could be a different length back here, and that could also create conflicts. You need to be ready for that when you go and get into the project. Be there to solve it. Of course, we're always here to support you with that. A company like Attack, if you're having fitment issues or you have questions, you can always reach out to them. They're solid people. They'll get back to you with a proper response and help get you through it. But it's just important to know those things before you dive into the project. All in all, what do I think of these rear sets? I've used them on the R1 that we had. They were one of the kits that I really enjoyed riding in. Very aggressive grip on the foot pegs, okay, and that can be a little tough on the boots. You want to be aware of that up front too, that you're okay with that. If you find these too sharp for your liking, you can literally just take a file and just kind of tease the ends a little bit. It'll take some of the bite off of it, and it'll help manage the boot wear as well. If you're high-end racing, you want all that grip right there. You want that real positive feedback. You're not as focused on how long your boots are or aren't going to last, okay? So you need to know that stuff going into it. Made in the USA, great quality, and if you ask Max Band, the most important thing in the world is, well, Josh Herron rides for Attack.